Hello, hello. This is Bethany from Just Be Scrap. Welcome. Today I have my first junk journal share. I learned the junk journals from Miss Nik the Booksmith here on YouTube. I had bought her course, probably a year and a half ago. I have done several of these, what I now call junkers. I love them. They are so fun to make. They are definitely time consuming, but well worth the effort. This one is a custom order from a lady that I met a few months back. She came to a craft fair I was showing at and fell in love with a lot of my work, not just the junkers, but some of my older scrapbooking things that I've done, and has done several custom orders with me. This is her newest custom order. This one is actually for her and not for someone else. So that's kind of cool. Her birthday's coming up in a couple of days, so I'm very excited for her to get this. She's actually a quilter, so we went with a sewing theme. The front cover of it, I used a Tim Holtz stencil, and it reminds me of a quilt pattern that my grandmother used on a quilt that I still have. I love the little sewing with the little diamonds in the center of them. So that's what I went with. I did go with a gray and kind of just an antique look. It is a hardback, not the curved spine, just the hardback spine. I think I'm liking this more and more as I've done more journals. I like the flat spine better, only because when you open up the book, it will lay totally flat. So it makes it easier when you're actually journaling in it, that you don't have that curved spine to worry about breaking down. I have my version of a bookmark. I actually got this from Miss Cog off of her YouTube channel. She did this for a journal that she was working on, and I totally loved it, totally stole it, because it's a great idea and it's so cute. It just hangs off the back of the spine, gives the book a little bit more interest. This is a tie closure. I used some twill measuring tape to tie it off, and I love how that has turned out. It looks really cool with the all the tea-dyed papers and the whole vintage theme. The book is actually only 4 signatures with 1 extra that I took a chance on, and I will kind of go through that when we get to that spot. I don't know how many pages are in this. It is massive, though. I will say that. It is huge. So if I were to guess, let's do a quick estimate here. If I find the beginning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 12 pages here. Front and back is 24. 24 and 24 is 48. There are 4 signatures at 48 each. So you're talking roughly 200 pages, roughly. This one starts off with the Tim Holtz slot die. I love this die, and actually I found this die. I follow Tim Holtz actually quite religiously. I have for many, many, many years. The man is a genius, but I actually found the die because of Nik the Booksmith. She used it in one of hers, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have that. So I did go out and get it. It's stitched on. And for those of you that don't know what it does, it's just a slot. So each of these allows you a place to stick a piece of ephemera. So whether you have a ticket or a tag, you can stick it in each of the slots and kind of, just give it a cool look. Put some scissors on since we are doing a sewing theme, quilter theme. It's a journal. So I put the little book plate in there as well. And then we have just the normal array of papers. So lots of different papers. I have a little tuck spot, some inspiration that I've done. Whenever I do a journal, I try to leave the pages themselves fairly plain, just because I don't know what they're intending for it once they've gotten it, and I want them to have plenty of spots to put their own stuff. But I like to include the inspiration if I can, just, you know, for their own creative sake. Lots of pages with stitching. Everything is tea dyed. I prefer tea dye over coffee dye. It is a softer look. It doesn't give as harsh, excuse me, as harsh of a look. The coffee is very hard to be consistent, whereas I've done the tea dye enough now that I know what I'm gonna get for the most part at the end of a staining session or a dyeing session. So there's some deli pages in here. This little guy is the back of a snap. I love snaps. If you're familiar with Finnabair, she's a mixed media artist that I have followed for about as long as I followed Tim Holtz. Not quite as long, but almost as long. She does snaps in a lot of different projects that she does, and I think they're so cool. So I've done that with the measuring tape, so it is removable technically. Now there will be a hole in the page if they take this out, but I think this is cool because you can move this any direction. So if they want to just leave it here hanging, or if they want to throw it up on the side there, they can. Totally up to the new owner that's coming to get this tomorrow. So the corner tuck, right, or the corner fold over with a little safety pin. I've added a jewelry tag and a little button. And then we just go through all the different papers. This is a stamp that I have. I cut it out, cut off the corners, inked them, stitched it on the page. This guy kind of actually happened by accident. He is a garment tag, alterations tag, whatever you want to call it. I kind of decoupaged the back of it with a sewing pattern, actual pattern from a sewing, pattern. I love that, but it needed something else. I had gotten a whole thing of tea bags a couple years back. Wasn't real sure what to do with them. So I made a little flip notebook just with some extra tea dye paper and some Tim Holtz paper. I'm calling this a mini jotter just because it would be a really cute place just to jot down some measurements, or a quick phone number if you're like me and you see something inspiring and you want to go back and do some more research on it. It's a great place to put stuff like that down. This is a tea bag. It is used. I did wash it out really good, dried it, stitched it on like a belly band. Before I did that though, I did stamp it with Stays On with the Tim Holtz stamp, his sewing theme stamped. Here is a library pocket that I've made into a double pocket with the library cards. This is another one I thought would be really cool for when she looks at a website or something and she wants to write down that information. She's got lines to write it down on, kind of reference where she found what that she liked. Some ticker fabric up here that I love. I've got this in the cream and red and then the cream and blue. I only added the red into this. I'm not sure why. I think that's just what I had pulled out. So deli paper with some journaling lines stamped on it. Some more stitching, some more papers. I did put lots of trims just randomly everywhere I could think. Music paper, because I love music paper. I like lines. I don't write straight if I don't have lines, so sometimes it's nice to have. Dictionary, I just love the look of the old dictionary pages. These are actually vintage pages. It's about the only one here that is actually vintage, but I love them. They're cool. I have another fabric tab with a safety pin in it. Some more random papers that I've tea dyed and stitched on. Of course, I think it's almost mandatory that you have to have some sort of ledger. Here is a tab with a pair of scissors hanging off. This is actually dot paper that I found at Michael's on a great big pad. I just tore the pad up, tore the pages out, and cut them down to what I needed them to be. I have a pocket page here. It's not technically a pocket because it's not sewn, but I did throw an owl clip on there so it would keep it closed. But that way she has a bigger piece of paper. She can always take that little clip off and it'll accommodate a bigger sheet of paper if need be. A little label spot put on with a safety pin. some more random papers.